Hello, you're listening to a special injunction edition of Gareth on...
Hello and welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed, or as we say in Stoke Newington, Nassau Sun. Richard Porter, Nassau Sun? You don't know what to say, do you?
No.
Zog, Nassau Sun? You don't know what to say either, do you?
Nassau Sun.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think what that is backwards or... No, I don't know. I'll just say Nassau Sun to you.
Well, the answer is Ben Naim. Ben Naim. I'm fine. It's Turkish. I'm talking Turkey. You see? As indeed we are now talking about the Turkish Grand Prix, which 66% of the team saw, 33% of the team. Where were you? In Wales?
Yeah, I was up a mountain in Wales, a sort of boys' weekend away. It's something that I do with some friends every year, and this was the only weekend we were all free, so something had to give, and unfortunately it was the 2011 Turkish Grand Prix.
There's always one that you're going to miss in the season.
Yeah, I know. It was a beautiful morning on Sunday in the Brecon Beacons, and it was I could sit in the house and watch the race, or I could catch up with the race later and get out there and, as it turns out, get to the top of a mountain and get pelted with horizontal hail, which was quite painful.
But that's what you're after if you're going for a walk in the great...
It's what some of my friends that I go away with are after,
surely.
because they sort of enjoy the adversity and misery. Personally, I'm a lazy bugger, and I just quite like a nice view from the top of a sunny mountain. I don't mind a bit of exercise.
I think I'm with you on that.
But
yeah.
I don't really want to be freezing cold and wet. If you can do it in a T-shirt, then I'm extremely happy. That's where I was, didn't see the race, but I hear it was a cracker. I couldn't resist, I had to look up the result. So I do know who won, I know broadly the top 10 at least, but I don't know more details because I haven't had a chance to catch up with it on iPlayer or whatever. So I'm hoping you're going to fill me in, because I hear it was really good.
Well, Mr. Bendy won, and the reason he's called Mr. Bendy is...
Oh, well, yeah, I'm glad you asked me that. The thing is, it's really simple. In a factory in Hamburg, and then you can take a masala.
That's why he's Mr. Bendy, yeah.
Was the mic all right?
But it was...
I've had some distortion issues with it, which it's okay.
So anyway, the race won by
Mr. Bendy.
Vettel.
As you say, Mr. Bendy...
How do we say it?
I don't know. It's a moving target, this.
Bendy won. Great race.
A lot of overtaking, almost too much, I would say.
No, not a lot of overtaking, Zog. A lot of overtakes, apparently.
Is this...
No, I got stupid and pedantic on Twitter about fewer versus less during the race. So let's not get into more language pedantry, because we won't.
Overtakes. There were a lot of overtakes in the race, apparently. So apparently it's a word, yeah?
Is it?
Yeah.
Is this? I don't know.
I'm
Is this one of these things, yes, where it'll just slowly creep in and...
It's like party. You used to go to a party, but then party has become a verb. Oh, you guys like to party?
That's an Americanism, isn't it?
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with party as a verb, but I'm not so okay with overtake as a noun.
It just seems to be unnecessary, doesn't it? It's like text as a verb. It's inevitable that's just become a verb, because it's a sort of new thing. You need to evolve the language around it. But overtakes.
Overtakes.
There were a number of
overtaking
overtakes. I don't know. I'll be honest, Dog, it doesn't bother me as much as quali, which I always find faintly irritating. Don't know why.
For me, it's the other way around, because quali... OK, it's a slightly annoying contraction, but it's just an informal contraction of qualifying. I'm okay with that.
That's what I don't like about it. It's overly matey.
Well, OK, here's a rule, then.
If it was kind of going really cutesy... Look, Gareth, we'll get back to the race in a minute. This is important.
Yeah, go
on. You mean if it was Quali Wally or something
exactly,
like that?
Yeah, exactly. If it was... there you go. Quali Wally would be no good. Quali's OK.
As it's an informal contraction, that's driven by familiarity. And so if you take part in qualifying, you can call it quali, I think, but the rest of us have to call it qualifying.
But I've never heard an actual Formula One driver say quali. I've only ever heard people who watch it on the tape. Does he?
Yeah.
Well, if you're really familiar with it and you're sort of blokey with it, as Button can sometimes be, you should be calling it like quasar or something like that.
Yeah, quaso. Yeah.
Jensen, great result there in qualifying.
Yeah, Quaz was good. The guys at the Faz in Woz have worked really hard on the Chaz and the Aeros.
And a good result for your teammate too.
Yeah, great to see Haz on the grid next to me.
But another bad result for seven-time world champion Michael Schumacher. How would you rate his performance this season so far?
Michael Schumacher's performance? Shiz.
Sniff Petrol with Gareth Jones on Speed!
Qualifying, in my opinion, is a thing of the past because of the importance of managing your tyres these days because of these incredible Pirelli tyres which fall off the cliff very quickly and then leave lots of marbles. You see, I'm using all these terms myself now on the circuit. Qualifying has become a thing of the past. It's history. It's far more important to save your soft tyres, surely, for the race than it is to use them up in qualifying. It doesn't really matter where you start from anymore, does it?
But didn't Martin Whitmarsh say that this idea that using up your tyres in qualifying, it's a bit of a myth because you're only using a couple of laps on the tyre that you otherwise would have kept as a fresh set for the race. So it's actually not making as much difference as people sometimes think. And the fact that there's so much more shuffling around the field because people have been making different use of their tyres during the race and there being more of a tendency for people to be on different strategies, maybe that's encouraging this idea. I don't know.
I love the way that there's passing and repassing at the moment. There is an awful lot of overtaking in it. The drivers say, Richard, I know you didn't see the race, but there was something like 130 passing manoeuvres in the race. Did I hear that fact? It was
130?
It was mammoth, whatever it was.
There were almost too many. When it happens too often, it becomes less meaningful. A passing move means a lot more the harder it is to pull off. To take it to the extreme, if you had 10 passing moves on every lap, we wouldn't get excited about it. We wouldn't...
I don't know.
No, you don't have...
I suppose it was just chaos of constant overtaking and overtaking again and just people sort of jockeying for position every lap for the whole race, maybe, but I don't know. I'd like to see that, see what happens. I think the biggest
But think about oval racing and stuff, when you've got passing and repassing, or you almost alternate lap by lap, whether people are passing. You don't get excited about each one of those moves in the same way that you get excited about Hamilton just catching up to and just passing Vettel.
Formula One's supposed to be hard, really. It's supposed to be the most difficult, the pinnacle, and so passing should be very hard. I'm enjoying the on-screen action, but it still boils down to where you are on the last stint. So what if it gives us a bit of mixing up of stuff during the race? When it comes down to the last few laps and how you've managed your tyres, it's that final position. It's no different to when we used to have refuelling. It doesn't really matter until that last stint, when everyone's done all their stops and now we know that the race is on. So it's almost that qualifying cone continues to put the top 5 in a position where they can win the race.
But you want the rest of the race to be worth watching and to matter. You don't want to set it whereby you're only bothered to tune in for the last third of the race because...
It's like wacky races suddenly, isn't it? Oh, and Schumacher spun off and he's into the swimming pool, but wait, he's back and overtaken 15 drivers. Now, was that a reasonable impression of the voiceover for wacky races? It wasn't bad, actually.
It was pretty good.
Never done that before.
But I do think, just to finish the thought, that they may have to carry on sort of fine-tuning this DRS and how it's used, how it's allowed in the race, to get that balance right between making it easy enough but not too easy for the drivers to pass. And I think they've probably got it just about right at the moment.
Plenty of entertainment. It was a rubbish race to miss because there was so much going on, Richard. It really was.
And the mountain will still be there. I could have climbed a bit another.
Exactly.
But will the Turkish Grand Prix be there? We don't know. There's some doubt over that. We'll see.
But a couple of the big things for me from that race were, first of all, Schumacher looking actually rather ragged. He really sort of seemed like a ageing prize fighter who can't quite land the killer punch.
Could have been a contender.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking. He was involved in a tussle with Suthill. Is that a haiku? And I can't remember if it's Brundle or Coulthard who said, I think it was Brundle, the English language commentator, who said, well, sometimes you have to give up a corner. You have to know when a corner is lost. It cost him his front wing, this manoeuvre. And he almost said it in one sentence. Sometimes you need to know when to give up. And it's illustrated in his reluctance to let people pass at the moment, that he doesn't know when to give up, whether that means a corner, a race, or indeed your career, Richard. He may have helped Mercedes in a great way, yes.
When he had that kind of aura of invincibility about him and was overwhelmingly at the front, then I'm quite sure that psychologically drivers felt very differently about that split second when you're aware that you may get into a collision with him or not.
Yeah.
Drivers were simply more wary of it before because they knew he wouldn't back off. They knew there'd be an accident. Now, even if they're still aware that he probably won't back off and they might be coming together, they're not as wary of it. It doesn't scare them in a way that it used to.
Well, it seems like it's almost become the way that you're out on the road and you see a Nissan Micra driven by a man in a flat cap, and you go, oh, give him a wide berth, silly old fool. He's probably not paying attention. Well, he is in his 90s.
There's some truth in that.
Oh, no, that's that terrible old fart who's still plugging around in that old Mercedes of his. God, just give him a wide berth. Remember what he did to Rubens Barrichello? He's probably his vision's going. It's a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
Do you think life in the Schumacher home is probably very difficult at the moment? Oh, Michael, my 7 times world champion husband. You look so sad.
Carina, meine Formula 1 season is not going well.
Oh, it's not so bad.
Not so bad, no, Carina. It's terrible. The car is not working for me. My teammate is outpacing me. I don't believe the other drivers respect me. I cannot imagine how things could get any worse.
Hello, the Schumacher house? Oh, hi, Gareth. Yeah? Oh, that's great! Michael, it's your brother on the phone. He got a podium in the DTM!
No.
Gareth Jones on speed.
Here's a thought. Have Pirelli shot themselves in their foot or boot or rubber footwear, whatever it is?
Galoshes. I think they're galoshes.
Thank
where,
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
tyre
Yes.
companies wear galoshes.
By delivering a tyre to the spec that they asked for, i.e. a tyre that wears away very quickly. We're all aware of this. This is why Formula 1 is entertaining and successful at the moment. Is there not an implicit undercurrent of Pirelli tyres wear away quickly that you might carry over into your purchase of tyres for your car?
Okay, to put it really dismissively, anyone who's that stupid, I mean, how can they possibly even cross the road without killing themselves? I mean,
Or to put it in
you've
a
gotta-
slightly
you've-
more generous way, if you're that interested in researching tyres for your car, you probably know a bit about Formula 1 and you understand that that rule or that request was put in before the season started, that they wanted high degradation tyres. So otherwise,
But
you'll just think,
that was so much
you know,
more generous and
Pirelli is a type of ice cream, and all those people who just goes into the garage or the badly spelt tyre high street supplier and say, could you put some tyres on that? And these days, road cars, so many of them come with very, very specific, what they call the OEM tyre, the original equipment manufacturer spec, which is the stuff that it left the factory on. And it's not just things like Ferraris and Porsches and Lotuses where they will ask for a specific tyre to be developed for that car during its setup phase from one of the big manufacturers. I ran that Fiesta ST, the old shape one, from Evo magazine, and when I got a puncture, turned out the tyre on that was only used by the Fiesta ST and the Mini Cooper.
Wow.
And as a consequence, the badly spelt high street tyre supplier had to order it in, which they signally
was it
failed
Michelin?
to do. No, it was can't remember.
Oh, I know that tyre. Yeah.
And was it
Dunlop, maybe, or Michelin. It might have been Michelin, I don't know.
Ford tends to have a big supply deal with Michelin.
I think
going
it was
on,
then, yes,
don't
maybe
they?
it was, yes.
Yeah, I didn't know BMW.
BMW do, no, BMW
Yeah.
love a Michelin tyre.
Well, there we are.
Was it any more expensive, you think?
Yeah, it wasn't cheap. I forget now off the top of my head. For the sake of argument, let's say £1 million.
Right.
That's a lot of money for a
that's-
tyre.
I might
yeah.
be misremembering that, but
Yeah.
I certainly remember thinking it was quite expensive. Same thing's happening with my Jaguar at the moment, because it's going to need some new tyres quite soon, and I asked someone I know at Jaguar if he could sort of ask around the engineering department,
Good idea.
were there any recommendations for tyres?
What would the engineers put on?
Yeah, because it originally came with Pirellis, and that's what's on it now. It is on the right tyre for that car. But I thought, I wonder if over time, actually, they've realised there's something else that maybe is a bit better in terms of grip or comfort or noise, or all three, ideally, which would be fantastic. And the news came back, no, stick OEM on it, which means the Pirellis, because they haven't found anything that they believe is superior. And that car was set up to perform at its best on the Pirellis. And I will put Pirellis on there, and in no point will I go, oh, I better not, they'll wear out really fast, because what's happening in F1? Because, you know, we pay attention to these things. Where are we
So
going
we're fairly
with that?
safe. Well, you've just brought it back to exactly the point I was trying to make. Have they shot themselves in their foot by doing this? But if you're right, if it's only people who watch Formula One and understand, will still think, it's a Formula One tyre, they know how to write the right compound for what's required.
Well,
So-
I don't know. I mean, if you're a ruddy idiot and you won't put Pirellis on your road car because of Formula One, do write to us. If you know how to write. Give me some more headlines, since I haven't seen the race yet.
Ferrari are back.
Alonso had a really good scrap with Webber. That was the highlight of the race, actually. Alonso and Webber coming back at each other. Alonso had got the better of him in the end, but
Massa.
the Massa incident was interesting. As Hamilton and Massa dived into the pitch together,
As they came out.
Hamilton got away first. Ferrari released Massa so that they were alongside each other in the pit lane. And they didn't get a penalty for unsafe release, which I just didn't understand.
Well-
All credit to Massa for not running into Hamilton, all credit to the two of them for not running into each other. But unsafe release, by definition, is surely releasing a car at a time when it's going to
Cause the
potentially...
other driver to change his direction or
but
speed.
the regulations on that are actually quite complex, and what Massa had probably done is taken the precaution of driving for Ferrari.
Yeah, that's overrides that.
Yeah.
So
I've forgotten,
that's
yeah.
probably why he wasn't penalised in some way or other.
Listen, whoa!
Don't ever play Mornington Crescent without Ferrari.
But there's this constant sort of murmur about the sale of F1 at the moment when Bernie keeps saying it's not for sale, which means it is for sale.
Yeah.
One of the ideas is that Ferrari and News Corp are getting
Well,
together to own Formula One. You don't want Formula One owned by Ferrari. You might be interested in Formula One owned by all the teams.
Or by McLaren,
I'd
because the
rather
amount
have-
of revenge they would exact upon Ferrari, I suspect.
I'd rather have F1 owned by Ferrari than News Corporation, though. Wouldn't you? I mean,
Well,
at,
yeah, but
at
aren't
least
they
they've
going
got
in
some kind of
together?
feeling.
So, well, yes, they've got some feeling for it, and I would actually say neither of the above.
Yeah,
Would
well,
rather have
yeah.
no Formula One.
This will happen, and then we'll be going, oh, God, do you remember the days of Bernie? Wasn't he brilliant?
Remember the
Whatever
days of
else, you say about Bernie and Max.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, you do need an autocrat in charge of a vast and expensive sport like Formula One, and I think we will probably miss the days of Bernie. Much though we
Absolutely.
scoff and mock at his unusual antics. Just some faceless corporation, but with sinister overtones, whoever that might be, owning it. I don't think it'll be the same. And also, let's be
I
honest,
agree.
as Formula
I agree.
One fans, we do quite like the pantomime villain side of
Yeah.
Bernie.
Also
it gives us
true.
something to talk
Yes.
about.
We have to have one. That's why we love hating Alonso. Why we love Alonso, we love hating him.
And also,
I just hate him.
and a lot of the, and a lot of
I
the,
don't really. He's a good driver, but I do quite hate him.
but also a lot of the stuff that Bernie does that we complain about. A lot of it's sort of trivial stuff here and there.
What, like that time that I ran up to him in the paddock at Silverstone last year to try and interview him for Radio 5, and he said, I can't, I've got a meeting. And then not 4 minutes later, we saw him on the telly, just in the coverage, hanging out with Jackie Stewart or something, but clearly not in a meeting. That's just his standard way to brush someone off. But I've not held that against him, because it's almost like...
I can tell you're not not
Also,
in any way holding a
Yeah,
ground.
I shook hands with him, and that's something, I can say, tell my grandchildren, Bernie Eccleston used to own F1. Well, I once shook hands with him. Never got my watch back.
Yeah, it is. F1's in good shape. Apart from the fact that Adrian Newey is so utterly brilliant that he's delivered another wonderful car for Red Bull, and the Carlin team have managed to make that car consistent and workable and have really coalesced as a team. If it wasn't for that, Formula One would be great at the moment, because at present velocities, Red Bull will win the championship by, I don't know, Valencia. It's just going to happen too quickly. But the rest of the stuff going on is very entertaining. It's often the case. There's something up at the front.
Lotus drivers were entertaining, certainly.
Yeah.
What were they doing? Heidfeld was running Petrov off the road, and then they were both giving each other the finger.
What?
Well,
What,
not quite giving
who?
each other the finger.
Sorry, who was
but-
doing
Sorry, Renault drivers, we meant, not Lotus
well,
drivers.
I was going to say that's one
sorry,
of 10
sorry.
teams.
Yeah.
could
Sorry,
be
the Renault Proton drivers, yes.
Renault
Yeah,
Proton,
Renault.
I like that. I like that. I think
Protus.
Yeah, it was the
Loton.
Protus.
This could go on.
Yeah.
They were fighting
Seemed
over
to-
the same bit of track as
In a
teammates
rather-
aren't supposed to do, in a bad way.
In a rather scrappy way.
Did they come
Petrov's been
together, or
first.
were they just...
A little bit of contact, I think, just slight,
But
rubbing
Petrov
maybe, but
is...
no more than that.
I don't know if he was at
He's very
school,
quick, though.
he'd get most improved. award or something.
He's the driver who most looks like he could be a cannibal out of all the drivers on the grid.
Yes, he looks like he might club people and drag
Yeah.
them back to a cave
Yeah.
of some description.
Yeah.
He certainly looks
hungry.
like he lives in a cave.
Yeah, there's something a bit primal about him. But he's been very quicker than Quick Nick, who's just reliable but not that quick. And we thought he was going to be much better in the Renault.
He hasn't been consistently quicker than...
It was interesting, though, when Heidfeld got the podium position in
Malaysia.
Malaysia.
It was a reminder that Quick Nick is really small. Even by Formula One driver standards, it's really small.
Kill the
really
wire
small,
bit. Yep.
Really small. So he needs to win so that he looks taller.
Yeah, so he's on the top platform.
Got in the
Make
first.
things worse.
Yeah, you're right. Good point.
Everyone
Good
looks
point.
taller again. That's right.
So I don't know how tall Petrov is, but I do imagine him to be a sort of looming hulk of a man somehow.
Yeah, I think by everyone says that he's enormous. He's,
Yeah.
he's maybe not.
It's like-
he's not quite a Webber.
It's
Yeah,
because
or
of the
Justin
humans.
Wilson. You remember Justin Wilson?
Oh, over 11 feet tall.
Literally the world's tallest man.
Yeah.
Bad choice of career.
He should have played a Wookiee in Star Wars, really, shouldn't he? Just...
He was the one who did the share issue, wasn't he? Sort of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
To
yeah.
raise money.
Yeah.
wonder
Well,
how
it's an
that
interesting
went.
idea.
I don't
I mean-
know. They don't do.
Hey, it didn't work for Williams.
But then, did you see this week
They sacked
Williams?
everyone.
Yes, Sam Michael.
Even
And,
sacked me. I got a mail saying you're sacked just to be on the safe
Yeah.
side. I've got nothing to do with them.
but then they've hired.
Mike Coughlin.
Well, yeah, it's just extraordinary, isn't it? I thought,
Mike Cotton was involved with the whole Xeroxing of Ferrari information when he was at McLaren and was banished to the wilderness because
Yeah.
of that. And they're saying that now he's back at Williams, he's going to be a better man. He's going to be a better man than he was. Well, can he save Williams? No. It's going to take more than that, isn't it?
I don't know. Probably
Williams?
yes. I don't know. How do you
So
save
you have
Formula
30
One team?
seconds
Just
on
dealing photocopies.
your favourite Formula One team and why
Well-
they are useless. at
Well,
the
the thing about
moment.
Williams is that they're one of the few teams that has a kind of a collective memory of how to win races and how to win championships. I mean, actually, it's been 15 years since Williams won a championship, I guess. But,
Yeah, I think they're starting to forget.
Well, but
Doesn't-
I think it's still in there. Maybe I just hope it's still in there. But I think they've still got that in their DNA. It hasn't quite been evolved out. But
I sometimes
they
wonder, though, the
need-
teams like that, they think they are still front-running World Championship-type teams, when actually they're solid midfielders at best, and they should accept that and think like midfielders and work harder to sort of aspire
To
back
work up
to the
from
front,
there.
instead of assuming that they are one of the top flight when they don't have the results or the car or even the drivers to back that up. And I suspect that might be the problem. It's like MG Rover. They still thought they were a global car company towards the end, when actually, you know, they were a two-bit operation with one factory. And I think Williams have that sort of mentality.
I think
they
you're
think they're a key player.
I think
and
you're exactly
they were,
right.
but they're not.
They are the most, if you like, British, the most English of the F1 teams. And as a British identity, it's that thing that we Brits have. We still think that Britain is one of the major players in the world in just about everything, because traditionally we've had a great run since before the Industrial Revolution. The truth is, on the grand scheme of things, we are not top 5 players anymore.
Oh, now, come on. We put on a ruddy big wedding the other week, and the world...
I
Yeah,
love
we
your
do
wedding, Richard, but that's not anything to do with the point I'm trying to make.
No, it depends what field of endeavour you're talking about. Because, for example, I don't think you'd disagree with.
The thing's making noises. What is
Oh,
that?
turn that off. Turn that off.
That's my phone. There's a text coming on the phone, which, as you know, uses a subspace channel from Star Trek.
That is the longest text alert I've ever heard.
Well, you know.
You wouldn't disagree, though, with the proposition that Britain is one of the leaders, if not the leader, in motorsport technology. Yes?
True, yeah, true.
So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
there you go. It depends what field you're talking about. Joking aside,
Yeah.
there are absolutely all kinds of areas in which the UK is the best at that particular discipline, or has the best people in this particular area, has the greatest expertise in this area. There are other areas where we absolutely suck balls. But, you know, what Williams need is enough money. Maybe they haven't got enough at the moment. Probably not. Almost certainly not. And they need a really good chief designer and the people to support him. And I don't know enough of the detail about the staffing there to know whether that's what they've had or not. Sam Michael, it seems like he's a really, really good guy. He may just not have had enough support, but I don't know.
Well, I think Gareth's phone going off is quite apposite, because let's not run Britain down. Let's remember that almost every mobile phone has a chip in it that was invented in Britain, but that doesn't stop Williams being rubbish. So,
I'll leave you with one thought. My favourite name in F1 at the moment belongs to Williams. Pastor Maldonado. But the trouble is, you have to say it a very specific way. It's best said in the same way that you say Salvador Duran. You know, the driver Salvador Duran.
Yeah,
you have to say his name like this. Salvador Duran. Okay, you have to say it like that. And you have to say Pastor Maldonado's name like that as well. Pastor Maldonado. Takes over 4.5 seconds.
Just like him compared
You're
to
never
the pace
gonna-
of the front row.
Exactly,
Yes,
that's
there
my
you
boy.
go.
Thank you, guys. You've been listening to Richard Porter,
Goodbye.
to Zog,
Goodbye.
and me, Gareth Jones. This was On Speed. See ya.
To send us an email, see pictures, get song lyrics, join our Facebook fan site or follow us on Twitter, go to garethjones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed is made in London by Whiz Bang.
Gareth Jones on Speed!